Wow, there's nothing biting today. I wonder why. Hmm, perhaps because of a little thing called overfishing? Let's talk about that. Good mythical morning. Today we're going to be attempting to answer the age-old question, how much fish could a fisherman fish if a fisherman could catch fish? And a little spoiler, it's quite a lot. To do that, we'll talk to my good friend Patty over here. Now, Patty, why don't you take the floor? Why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about overfishing and exactly what that is? Okay, so we'll start all the way at the beginning. So, as with every good story, it starts with a fish. But then comes along a man, and the man has a tool. And on that tool is a string with a hook, and he rips the fish out of the water. And so now that fish is out of the water, but the man has the fish. And so what does he do with the fish? He gives it to people, and the people give the man money. And so now that the man sees that if he continues to give people this kind of fish, he will get money, he will go back to the ocean and he will continue to take more of this specific kind of fish out of the water. Now let me write you a simple equation. So you have here mommy fish plus daddy fish. And what does that equal? Of course it equals baby fish. But now suppose that the man on the land rips mommy fish out of the water, and he does the same to daddy fish. Can we still get baby fish? The answer is no. If there's no mommy fish and no daddy fish, then you can't have baby fish. And then what are you left with? Zero fish. Now you might be asking yourself, is this really a problem? Couldn't we just move on to another fish species to eat and stuff? It's not that easy. You got to think about the other fish in the ocean. So you got to think about the long john. Now, the man on the land, this is the fish that he took out of the ocean. And the long john relies on this fish to get its nutrients. So, without this fish in the ocean, now the long john has to find some other way to get his nutrients. And so he either has to adapt, or he will face the same fates as the first fish, and he will go extinct. And so this has the potential to cause a domino effect of aquatic mass extinction. Furthermore, that original fish that the man on land took out of the ocean, it has a very special function. It poos. And that poo goes to the algae. It has nutrients. And the algae absorbs the nutrients in the fish poo. And then we have little critters on the ocean floor, and they gnaw at the algae to get their nutrients. And then we have, say, like crabs. They will eat these nutrients, or these critters, to get their nutrients. So without this fish in its poo, then this little grub, he doesn't have the algae that he needs, the nutrients from the algae. And this guy doesn't have the nutrients from the critters. So as you can see, fish are very important to the oceanic ecosystem. And getting rid of one fish species, it just disrupts the entire productivity of the ocean, which is a very vital system to our lifestyle. So it just causes so much chaos, and it's very important to address this. All right. Thank you, Patty, for that very clear overview of this massive issue. As I'm sure you guys can see, there's quite a few reasons that we should stop this overfishing epidemic. But it's quite a big problem, so how do we address this? Patty, any help here? Yeah, so it's a pretty big problem, and coming up with a solution it's a little bit tricky. You know, the simple answer is to just stop fishing so damn much, but that's easier said than done. So, let's look at one example of a practice of sustainable fishing, and that is the utilization of escapement goals. Now, this is essentially just releasing a part of your harvest back into the ocean at the end of the season. Now, one spot that does this very effectively is the Bristol Bay salmon fishery up in Alaska. So, what they do is they take a fifth of their season's harvest and they release it back in the ocean. So if they have a harvest of 5, then one of these fish will get to be released back into the ocean. So little guy at the bottom, he gets to go, and he gets to go find love and mate and continue his lineage. And with 5 fish, it might not look like much, but imagine 5 million. Then you got 1 million going back in the ocean, and it's a good way to ensure that fish populations continue to be sustainable. Now, what about some of the places where escapement goals haven't been that effective? Well, in those cases, we can still use escapement goals, but we have to also utilize a double E solution. Now, this double E solution that I figured out is educate and enforce. So educate is just what it sounds like. People who want licenses, we have to educate them on the problem at hand before they get their license. So we got to tell them what the problem is and the severity of the problem, and they have to show that they understand it before they are able to touch any fish in the ocean. So after they pass their test, then yeah, feel free, open your fishery, open the doors, but follow the escapement goals. And that moves us to enforce. So to enforce, we have to make a little shift. Rather than escapement goals, they have to just be escapement numbers that all fisheries have to comply by. And to do this, we have to increase our collaboration with like the U.S. Coast Guard. So yeah, and we have to include more severe punishments for people who violate the policies. So we force them, rather than it being sort of like an opt-in, opt-out sort of program, we force them to abide by escapement numbers. And if they don't, then their fisheries are shut down, their licenses revoked. Maybe we give them one warning, but it's very crucial that we don't play around. It's not just game wardens anymore, ladies and gents. We're getting serious about this stuff. Wow, Patty. That's quite the harsh punishment. But I do suppose it's necessary. Addressing overfishing is super important. Very important, as a matter of fact. If we want to keep eating fish, if fish want to keep eating fish, and if fish poo wants to keep feeding the plants, it's very important that we address this issue. It's had trends of slowing down, which is very good and all, but we really got to make the final push and really push for more sustainable fishing practices.